morning, Akamsa Middle School. I'm Francesco.
And I'm Alexandra. Welcome to the AMS TV news for the week of January 18th. Let's check out today's positive message.
Today's positive message was sent in by Sean D. Be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never ever have enough.
Thanks. Last week we talked about the building of AMS back in 1970. Matt C's grandfather was part of the team that built our school.
As we promised, here's the full interview.
Mr. Fortunato, welcome back to Akamsa Middle School. And when you started construction here, there was in the early 70s or late 60s? Or?
I guess it was around 1970 that it started.
And were there other buildings on the campus at that point?
If I remember right, there was no high school, I don't think. I think there was an elementary school.
Wow.
Because I think we entered that way to get here in the beginning. It was an empty field, though.
It was a field, okay.
And I don't know where the school district got the property from.
Right, sure.
But it was a time when the young population of Smithtown was exploding, and they had decided to split between East and West, the two schools. And first came the junior high school, and I imagine that was probably built within a couple of years.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay. Because that would only follow that surge would happen.
So for the benefit of our viewers here at Akamsa Middle School, what does a layout engineer do?
A layout engineer would tell the different trades, whether they be carpenters or bricklayers or even the machines that had to do the site work, how high and where, and we strike a lot of lines and use a little survey equipment, although I guess now it's all done by GPS. But in those days, we had to manually do that part.
And how long did the project take? Did it take a few years?
I think this one, if I remember right, took about 18 months, I think. Maybe mine is stretched to 24.
That's a lot of bricks.
It is a lot of bricks. In fact, this particular building has a lot of bricks in it.
Interior, exterior.
Yeah.
Any other projects that your company worked on over the years in town here, beyond Akamsa?
Well, we did a lot of schools on Long Island.
Oh, okay.
Probably maybe half of the schools on Long Island we might have built.
It was a boom back then in the 70s.
It was a boom, and we were right in the middle of it.
Okay. Good timing for your company.
It was. And then in the early 60s, we kind of switched gears a little bit and went into, the World's Fair was happening, and we ended up, we did about 18 different pavilions at the World's Fair.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, including all the, which is still there,
That's a
the
nice,
base for the Unisphere and all
sure.
the fountains that were throughout the park.
Great legacy.
What was it like building a middle school?
Well, it was a big project. For me, it was one of the larger projects that I did at that time. I was just starting out, and I guess I was challenged by it. It was just a bare field, and it needed to be re-sculpted before we could start building, and we managed to do that with some very large equipment.
What do you remember from it?
Well, I've been in that auditorium a few times, and I remember laying out the ceiling for the carpenters who were building it, and I was happy to see that it's still there, because many of the things that I've done, including the LaGuardia parking structure, right? After a few years they tear it down. It got old. I don't know. And I guess this school is old, but it was kind of cutting edge at the time. The design of all the windows with the cut back bricks and the shade and the shadows. Anyway, he got an award, I think, for this one. It was kind of ahead of its time.
Building the school?
I did like his school because when it was finished, it was a nice looking thing.
Who are these people?
This is your family. This is your great-grandfather, Dominic. My dad, Louis, and that's the famous Uncle Barney, because he's still around. But they used to run the company. They were running the company when we built this school time. In fact, D. Fortunato, the company name that's on the plaque in the lobby, it's really after him, Dominic. And I don't know, they started in in the early 50s, right after the Second World War, I guess. I think their first, well, they started with houses, so you almost can't count them. But I think their first big project was probably the Stony Brook School, the prep school that I went to. They built the classroom building. I think that was their first school.
Thanks, Matt and Mr. Fortunato. As we celebrate Martin Luther King Day, let's learn more about this holiday.
On the third Monday of January, every year, we have a holiday to honor civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929. He was a social activist, a Baptist minister, a prolific writer of books, articles, essays, speeches, and sermons.
He was also the leader of the American Civil Rights Movement from the mid-1950s until 1968 and was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964.
King fought for equality and human rights for African Americans, the economically disadvantaged, and all victims of injustice.
He traveled across the United States and the world giving lectures on nonviolent protests and civil rights.
During the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955, activists who organized the boycott chose Martin Luther King Jr. as their leader and official spokesman.
The boycott led to the Supreme Court's November 1956 ruling, making segregated seatings on public buses unconstitutional. In 1963, King led the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom.
This protest led to the adoption of the Civil Rights Act in 1964 and the Voting Rights Act in 1965. At the march, King gave his most famous speech, now called the I Have a Dream speech.
In March 1968, King traveled to Memphis, Tennessee to support the striking African American city sanitation workers.
On April 4th, the day after giving his famous I've Been to the Mountaintop speech for the sanitation workers, King was assassinated by a sniper.
4 days after his assassination, civil rights leaders began a campaign to create a national holiday in Martin Luther King Jr.'s memory.
In the 1960s and 1970s, King was a controversial figure, and many thought of him as a troublemaker, not someone worthy of having a holiday.
On November 3, 1983, nearly 20 years after it was first introduced to Congress, President Ronald Reagan signed a bill marking the third Monday of January as Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
The holiday was to begin in 1986, and though some states accepted it immediately, it wasn't until the year 2000 that all 50 states recognized it as a national holiday.
As you take time off from school, think of Martin Luther King Jr.'s word from his I Have a Dream speech.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood.
I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
I have a dream that one day, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. Now it is your turn. Remember what Martin Luther King Jr. said, and ask yourself, what is my dream?
Yes, what is your dream?
Thanks. Cool to Read Week is coming up, starting February 8th. There will be lots of fun activities.
The library will be running a book review contest. Create a video review or book trailer for a book you have read. The top 3 videos will win a prize. All submissions will be due on February 12th. See the library website or Mrs. DeLuca for details.
Students are encouraged to create bookmarks based on a book they have read. Templates will be available on the counter in the main office and in the library.
Name That Book contest. Students will be challenged to figure out the name of books based on clues presented, such as quotes, pictures, genre.
The National Junior Honor Society will be organizing a book drive. New or gentle used books will be collected in the bins located in the cafeteria. The books will be donated to local veterans and their families.
Stop, drop, and read. ELA teachers will ask their students to stop, drop, and read for 15 to 20 minutes at the end of the period on Wednesday. All students should come to class with something to read.
Read a Shirt Day. On Thursday, students and faculty will be encouraged to wear a shirt that can be read. Please remember that shirts should not include offensive or inappropriate language or slogans.
Quotes we love. On Friday, students and faculty can create conversational hearts to display quotes they love from literature. The hearts will be hung in the cafeteria.
Cool to Read Week should be a lot of fun. Be sure to participate.
That's all for now. Thanks for watching the AMS TV News.
Have a great week.